Good morning and welcome to Charlie's Corner. We're going to do a two-part series on the Alexanders and their ties to Clan MacAlistair. So grab yourself, I have my Lance crackers and my Pepsi. Now, Lance crackers actually started in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a North Carolina invention, and Pepsi was invented down in New Bern, North Carolina. You can thank the Tar Heel State for these two things. So sit back and let's get started. So my ties to the MacAlistair clan and the Alexanders of MENSTRIE. It starts with me. I'm an Alexander. Both my dad and I were born in Edenton, but we're relatively recent arrivals to Edenton. Before that, every generation back to the 1600s was born in Alligator, Tyrrell County, North Carolina. And my grandfather came across to Edenton in like the late 20s. And we could talk about, I've already talked about actually, so we won't talk about Nelson Alexander, who fought for the Confederacy. Yes, he fought for the Confederacy. I'm not going to apologize for that. And the wrong side won that one. So you can go home in the same, you can get glad in the same pants you got mad in. That's the saying. I don't care what you think about that. Oh, but it goes back sooner before that. Go back to Isaac Alexander, who is, he was the first person on the American continent to cultivate the Scuppernong grape. And that's actually recorded. I found that in a research article by North Carolina State University, 1755. He registered as being the first one. And but we were here long before that. Anthony Alexander settled here in Tyrrell County in about 1680. And he was the grandson of Sir William Alexander, first Earl of Stirling. Well, it just so happens, since I'm directly descended from first Earl of Stirling, you can go on the internet and I can look up my genealogy all the way back to 125 AD. Every generation between me and 125 AD, back to Khan of the 100 Battles. And then you can go over to the Irish records and legends and go back even further to Noah. And then you can go to the Bible and you get the generations all the way back to Adam. So it's kind of cool, though. I mean, it is really cool. Anyways, we're not going to do that, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Alexander coat of arms, the family crest badge, and the tartan. So let's have a look at those. Now, this is the Alexander of MENSTRIE coat of arms. This is my family coat of arms. They got, the shield is white on one side and black on the other. White is for purity, black is for constancy or grief. The chevron indicates that they were militaristic and defenders. And the crescent moon signifies that we descended from Ronald, the second son of Somerled. The crescent moon always indicates second son instead of the firstborn. Then we go. That is the family crest badge. Per mare, per terrace is our family motto, and it means by sea and by land. It's an arm upthrust sword. Now, this here is for Alexander's, which is a branch of MacAlistair's. And MacAlistair's are a little bit different, and I'll show you that. You are authorized to wear the Alexander one, or you can wear this one. This is the MacAlistair one, and we are authorized because we're a branch of the MacAlistair clan. Their motto is Fortiter, which means boldly, which pretty much fits our family. If you know any of our Alexander family, boldly actually really goes along with that. So that is the family badges. Then we take a look at the tartan. Now, the Alexanders of MENSTRIE don't have their own tartan. They wear the MacAlistair tartan. There's several branches of the MacAlistair clan, and our branch is the MacAlistair of Loup, L-O-U-P. And this is the tartan that we wear. And actually, I'll show you something and tell you a little story about this tartan. Okay, so many years ago, I went to Scotland. And while I was there, I picked up a scarf at the Scottish House of Clans, whatever. This is, I told them I was Alexander, and this is the MacAlistair tartan that they gave me. Now, while I was there, of course, I'm in Scotland, right? And I'm a diver. I'm a scuba diver. So, naturally, I've got to go dive Loch Ness. I want to go look for the monster, right? And Nessie. So, I get a couple of guys off my ship who are certified. I was in the Navy at the time. We were in Edinburgh. Or actually, we was in Glasgow. And so we rented a car. And boy, that's a story too. They drive on the left-hand side of the road there, right? And Americans drive on the right side of the road. Well, it took us a while to figure that out. And we pissed off a lot of Scottish people on the way to Loch Ness. But we made it there. And we had borrowed some dry suits from the British Navy. They were alongside us in Glasgow. And so the three of us, three crazy Americans, we go to Urquhart Castle on Loch Ness, and we're going to go diving. So we get all dressed up. We're in these dry suits, and we swim out, and we go down. All right. Now, the water of Loch Ness it's actually like the water of North Carolina. All right. In the swamps, it's like iced tea. It's cold, and it's the visibility you can probably see like that far. All right. You can't see it all. It's like being in a glass of iced tea. It's all brown, like iced tea, tannic stains. So we're swimming, and we have to stay close, and I'm the dive leader, right? So we got me ahead and then one person on each side of me. And we're swimming along, and at one point I go down all the way to the bottom, or we go down all the way to the bottom, and the bottom is white, and it looks solid, right? It looks like a solid bottom. So I go to touch it, because I want to touch the bottom of Loch Ness. So when I touch it, it's silt. It's really thin silt. And my hand goes all the way down inside, all the way up to the elbow. And I pull my hand back because it freaked me out. I'm telling you, it was like touching a wall and your hand goes through the wall, okay? It was just like that. It was that sensation. You're just like, whoa! So we're swimming along, and I have a flashlight, a dive light, and I'm looking over here. Yeah, there's my buddy. Every once in a while, you check on him. You can swim along, check on them. Yep, they're still there. Good. Check on them. Keep swimming along. And all of a sudden, this guy's gone. And so I'm like, what the hell? So I look at my other buddy, and I'm like, we're doing hand signals. Where'd he go? And he's like, I don't know. So we decide, well, let's go to the surface, all right? And we'll meet on the surface, and hopefully he's up there. Well, we go up to the top, and sure enough, he's up there, all right? He had put a little bit of air in his suit, and on the British suits, they don't have a exhaust valve like on American suits. You got to break the seal on the wrist and let air out. Well, he didn't do that, and so he come up a little bit, the air in his suit expanded a little bit, and he started getting buoyant, and he started going to the top, right? And as you go up, the air keeps expanding. By the time he got to the top, he's all arms and legs stretched out like this here. He can't move. He's a big balloon. He looks like a big old freaking Oompa Loompa on top of the surface of the water. I was laughing my ass off. It was just hilarious. And so anyways, we ended up finishing the dive. I went over. He couldn't even move to let the air out. I had to do that. I had to break the seal and let the air out. And we finished the dive and had a great day that day. On a side note, we actually went to the sheriff at Inverness and asked him permission to dive in the lake. And he said, he told us we could dive in the lake if we wanted, but do him a favor. He said, if you happen to see the last divers that went in there, would you let me know where they are? So that was my trip to Scotland. It was a great time. I love Scotland. I got another story, but I'll use that another time. It involves girls. It was great. Scotland girls are great. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, I'll tell the story about Scotland girls. When I first arrived there, I go to the train station. We're in Glasgow, and then I go to the train station because I want to go to Edinburgh. It's a really cool place, Edinburgh. And I meet up with a English sailor and a Scottish sailor there at the train station. We start talking, and they're all, well, you come with me. Because the Scottish sailor was from Edinburgh. And so we rode the train to Edinburgh, and they asked if I wanted to go on a pub crawl. And I'm like, what's a pub crawl? Okay, and that's a pub crawl is where the streets are lined with pubs all the way down on both sides. And you hit this pub, you drink a pint of beer, then you go over to this pub, you drink a pint of beer, then you go to the next one, and you work your way all the way down the street, right? Drink a pint of beer in each pub as you go, right? And so we did that, and we are just trashed, all right, by the time we get to the end of that street. And so the Scottish guy asked if we wanted to go to a disco. Now, a disco is not like staying alive. No, the disco is just a place, what it's called, that it's a place where you go to dance. It's got a bar and a dance floor and stuff, and you go there. And so we went to this disco, and we're walking down this long entryway into the place, and I look down at the end, and there's this big dance floor, and there's nothing but women on the dance floor. Only women, right? And there's tables all down by the dance floor, and there's all women down there. And then there's a bar over to the side, and there's some couches over there in the bar, and all the men are over there. And they're all like, come on, mate, come on. And I'm like, what? No, I'm going down there. And so they went over there to the bar. They incidentally had thought that they could drink me under the table, which didn't happen. Late into the night, I look over, and they're both passed out on the couch, and I'm still going strong. But the thing was, I went down to the dance floor, and I just moved my way between these two Scottish girls that were dancing, and they were dancing with me, right? And it was fun. They invited me to their table, and I'm at this table, and it turns out there was a group of nurses, and it's me and 11 girls at this table, okay? I was having a blast. They were fighting over, pulling me up like on the dance floor, fighting over who to dance with me and everything. I was in my uniform too, which helped because I had the Cracker Jack uniform and looked real sharp in my Cracker Jack uniform, and they loved it. And so, but at the end of the night, they're actually arguing over who's going to take me home. Look, if you're single, I highly recommend Scotland, okay? It was the next day she took me out and took me on a whole full day tour. We went to Edinburgh Castle. We went all over Edinburgh, and she showed me Edinburgh, and I had a great time. Scotland's a great place, and it's even better if you're single. So anyways, that's the story of Scottish girls. So we'll begin with the U.S. Where were the Alexanders in the U.S.? And that is on the east coast of North Carolina. All right. And if we zoom in on there, this will work right here. All right. Anthony Alexander in the 1680s came into the Albemarle Sound. This is the Alligator River. Here's the Chowan River. All right. And they came in the Alligator, down into the Little Alligator, landed at Fort Landing. He migrated in about 10 miles and built his plantation here, Soundside Plantation. So it's this area in Tyrrell County, North Carolina. All right. And this is the Scuppernong River right here. And then my grandfather ended up over here in Edenton because it was better opportunity, more job opportunities, and there was. He became a linesman for Edenton Electrical Company, and he married Mildred Twitty, who they were so in love. It was a very hot relationship. But anyways, and then so we ended up in Edenton, North Carolina. All right, and that is the U.S. There's Alexanders everywhere. If you're an Alexander anywhere on the Albemarle Sound, then you and I would have a common ancestor. They all came from Lord William Alexander, 1st Earl of Stirling, the Alexanders of MENSTRIE. So, where are the Alexanders of MENSTRIE? Well, if you look right here in the United Kingdom, and this is the border right here, and this is Scotland, and there's Glasgow and Edinburgh, and right here is Stirling. And Lord William Alexander was the first Earl of Stirling, and right just a little bit north of that is a little community called MENSTRIE, and the castle, the Alexander family castle, is right there in MENSTRIE. All right. And they were granted those lands. Before that, all our family came from, they were settled on the Kintyre Peninsula, right here. And they were Lord of the Isles. All these islands from Man all the way up, and parts of Ireland, in fact, as well, which we'll go into later. But all these islands and the Hebrides, they were king. That was all their land. It was a separate kingdom from Scotland and England and Ireland, and it involved all these islands, this west coast right here, and Northern Ireland. All right, and we won't go into that. That was all the way back to Somerled. I'm going to go back to Somerled, who was right here in Scotland. So my genealogy goes back to Anthony Alexander, who was one of the 12 original families that founded Tyrrell County in the 1600s. It goes back to, from there, his grandfather, Lord William Alexander, 1st Earl of Stirling. And I could take you back to the 1200s. Alistair MacDonald, who was the founder of the MacAlistair clan that we branched off of. Back to Ronald, the second son of Somerled, who founded Clan Donald. And from Somerled. It can go back to his father, Gillibride. He was a Gaelic king in Ireland. Back to Fergus Moore. That would have been about 500 AD. If Fergus Moore was in 500 AD, about 502, I think, is when he founded Dalriada, the kingdom of Dalriada. Before that, to the Millions who invaded and settled Ireland in BC, prehistoric times. Not prehistoric for Ireland because they wrote it down. From there to the Iberian Celts, from there back to the Scythians, who was on the north shore of the Black Sea. It's just too much history to cover, so in single videos, so I have to do different videos on all this. Come back next time for part 2, and I think what I'll do is I'll give you the story of Somerled. He was a Nordic Gael, High Lord of the Isles, and King of the Isles, and quite a story to tell. So I'll see you next time on Charlie's Corner. You have a great day.